Now what do you do when it's been raining all day on your day off? Perhaps it's a Sunday afternoon and you're desperately trying to figure out something to do because you can't go out in the garden to potter around or to do some of your outdoor chores. Well, you simply make yourself some tasty homemade treat. Now if you're new to the channel guys, please don't hesitate to hit the subscribe button, we really do appreciate it. Now today I'll be using some of this fruit. Now most of this was purchased from the local supermarket as they were in the reduced section, and typically this means that the fruit is starting to ripe not long before it goes bad, and then they'll normally have to throw it out. But why not do the supermarket and yourselves a favor by getting yourself a bargain, and you'll be able to make some tasty homemade treats. Now today I'm using my newly acquired dehydrator, which has been absolutely fantastic. We're going to be using these apples to make some apple butter as well as some dehydrated apple slices, which are absolutely amazing and my family simply can't get enough. On top of that, we're going to be using these pears, which some of them have seen better days. We're going to be using them to make some beautiful sweet pear slices. Now these are one of my favorites and they work best when the pears are just ripe, not too hard but starting to turn nice and soft, where all the sugars start to activate, and like I said, these make the perfect treats. I'll also be using some curly kale to make some kale chips, but before we can do all of that, we need to start peeling some apples because we've got to get them nice and cored before slicing them into equal slices. That way they can be dehydrated for the same amount of time. Now this dehydrator is really good because it comes with 6 shelves, which means I can make a huge batch at any given time. And with a family of 4, you best believe that these tasty treats won't last very long. So it's a good idea to make a huge batch each time. Now we tend to store these in glass jars, or if you got some to hand, some mason jars. Once the apples have been washed and peeled, I then cut out the cores, after which I then slice them into equal slices before placing them on the metal racking. Now it's good to try and arrange these as best as you can, not allowing them to overlap, which might affect their ability to dehydrate. And once one tray is finished, you pop it in the dehydrator and on to the next one. Now that the apples are done guys, it's time to focus on the kale. Now I find that you can use just about any kale for this. Now the main thing is to remove all of these hard fibrous middle bits which won't be able to be dehydrated properly, because we're really after just the soft leafy parts of the vegetable. Now kales are high in vitamins and it's a great way to get your children to have them. First things first, we got to get them nice and washed. Now I tend to use some baking soda to just give these a good clean, because who knows what they've been sprayed with. It's always a good idea to wash your vegetables anyway. Now once they're washed, we then squeeze them dry to make sure we get rid of all that excess water out of them. Now you can leave this to fully dry out for a little while before moving on to the next stage. We're using some pink Himalayan salt, and we're also going to be using some extra virgin olive oil. So we basically then just coat these beautiful leaves with the salt and also the olive oil, and this will give it a nice flavor. Now if you look at this, it looks so good, you could just eat it there and then. But of course we want to make some kale chips. Now this is optional, we tend to use a bit of cayenne pepper just to give it a bit of extra kick. Now this, like I said, is optional if you're not into spice, but I find that they come out pretty well. Now just a note, less is more when it comes to topping these with salt and all the other spices, because once they're dehydrated you'll find that all of those spices will really intensify. Now moving on to my second apple dish. This one we're going to be making in this saucepan, and all I'll be using is all of the little bits of apples that weren't quite up to standard in terms of sizes, and we're just going to coat it in some cinnamon guys, turn the heat down and just let those apples stew. And honestly, this is one of the nicest treats you can ever have. Forget about yogurts guys, a beautiful apple butter is just the way to go. Now while that is being steamed and getting nice and soft, let's move on to the pears. Now this was a surprise hit for me personally. I find that using the pears just as they're starting to get a bit soft works best. If they're too ripe, they can end up being too sweet once they're dehydrated. But if they're too hard, it can have the opposite effect when they're not as sweet and they're quite rigid. I simply slice them into similar wedges. As you can see on here, pears are quite elongated, so we don't want to waste any of it, so we slice it from the top all the way down to the bottom and place them on the tray. Unlike the apples, I don't bother trying to remove the core of the pears. I find that once they dry out, you can just eat the whole thing, no questions asked. And just in time, guys, while our dehydrator is going to be working for around 4 hours to get our kale nice and crispy, it's time for us to tend to our apples in our saucepan. And here you can see me using the real hero of the day, which is our little handheld blender. Once the apples have been stewed, they will get really soft, then you just blend it into a nice puree. No added sugar, no added nasties, guys, and you got this beautiful apple butter, which, trust me, tastes amazing. The kids love to take this to school in their lunch boxes, which is great, and we also use it to top on our cereals in the morning. Now we're just checking on the apples and what's going on in our dehydrator. Still a ways to go for the apples, but I just had a look 3 hours in and our kale is actually ready. And so we're just going to get this off, put it on our tray, allow it to cool, guys. Be careful because this stuff gets really messy, especially when you got the finely chopped ones that you buy from the supermarket. Next year we can't wait to grow our own, because we will definitely be doing more dehydrated kale, especially because it will be homegrown, guys, and it's just so tasty. Now while we've got this free space, we also had some mint, and Sophia loves to make her own mint teas, and so we're just going to do the same, replace the kale with the mint and just pop that in the dehydrator for a couple of hours. Now I decided to save some of these stems of mint to see if I can root them in this jar, so hopefully that will take root and by spring they'll be raring to go. And here you can see we're actually getting all the kale, placing it in the jar, and trust me, guys, this is such a lovely treat. And like I said, it's a great way to get the girls to actually eat their vegetables, eat their kale, because let's face it, not everyone's a huge fan of kale. And likewise, we've gotten our apple butter, placed it in this mason jar, and we're going to now allow it to cool before storing it in the fridge. And I find that this apple butter can last for at least 7 days, guys, when stored correctly. So definitely recommend giving it a go. Now from all that mint that we had, this is what was left. As you can see here, it's all been reduced down into just a small jar, but that will do for a good few cups of teas. And there we go, guys, our apples have been dehydrated along with our pears as well as the kale, and we made some apple butter to boot, which is really nice. And just like that, that's one way of spending a nice rainy afternoon, guys, making your family some tasty treats. And I hope you've enjoyed this video, and hopefully you get some inspiration from it, so the next time you want to reach for a nice tasty snack, it may well be one of your own creations. As always, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Take care, goodbye, and God bless.